Hey everybody, GZERO is here in Geneva. There are final preparations happening all around us. The AI for Good Summit opens tomorrow, Tuesday. And what we're going to be doing this week is asking 5 questions of some key players throughout the week who are here about AI and what it means to the world. No one better to start with, by the way, than Fred Werner, who is actually a co-founder of this summit, multi-hyphenate title in leadership at ITU. I have to start by saying, okay, this started in 2017 with a few hundred participants. We are right now sitting in the middle of the biggest expo center in Geneva. Tomorrow there are going to be thousands of people here. How did AI become so important so fast?
Yeah, that's a good question. And when you think about 2017, it really wasn't that long ago, but I think in terms of AI years, it might as well have been a century ago. Because back when we created AI for Good, it was basically based around the fear and the promise of AI and how it can solve the world's most pressing issues. But then we could see AI evolving from sort of promise to use cases to scaling, and then you have the advent of generative AI in 2023 where it sort of accelerated, and now we have the rise of autonomous AI agents, and then also the physical manifestation of AI in the form of robotics and autonomous cars and brain-computer interfaces. So I think it's safe to say that the use cases are definitely there, from anywhere from healthcare to climate change to food security to disaster response to fighting misinformation. All the use cases are there. But how do you know high potential applications work equally well on men or women, children or the elderly, persons with different skin colors, persons with disabilities, in low resource settings where things we take for granted like electricity, 5G, Wi-Fi, access to data and compute are normal. In other places in the world, these are real concerns. So I think these are not natural reflexes to the fast-moving tech and startup industry, but they are things we think deeply about at AI for Good. And it's just amazing to see how big the event has scaled. And I think it's testament to the importance of AI and how it's affecting our lives.
I'm going to pick up on some of the things that you mentioned, particularly the digital divide, but first, the notion of since 2023, really when ChatGPT and other large language models appeared in big scale, the conversation started at a place of peril, right? There was lots of talk of what is this going to do to the human race? And I feel like we've run the gamut of it's going to destroy humanity to it might be the key to saving humanity. So right now, on that scale of promise to peril, where do you see AI worldwide?
That's an interesting question. I think the wind tends to blow in different directions, and indeed, last year it was very much about guardrails, responsible AI, regulation, how can we put a pause on things? There was that, global letter, the pause on AI. And this year, after the Paris AI Action Summit, it's more about innovation and growth and partnerships and how we can move things forward to solve challenges. I don't think it's either or, right? I mean, AI, it's a moving target, it's moving really fast. And I like to think at AI for Good, we've been very consistent and true to our original mission, which was very simple. It was identifying practical applications of AI to solve global challenges and to foster partnerships to make that happen for global impact, right? And I think the trick to AI for Good is we've always explored the dual nature of AI. So, AI can create misinformation, but it's also your best hope for fighting misinformation. And you see that across multiple domains. But I think one of the things ITU as the UN digital agency can do, we're the only agency that has private sector members. So we have 1,000 private sector members, all the biggest tech companies in the world, 150 academic institutions are member states. So I think we're a very good magnet or a catalyst for partnerships in the UN system, where, for example, if we're looking at AI and health, we bring in the WHO, or AI and natural disaster management, we have WMO, UNEP, AI and food security, we have WFP, IFAD, and then they come to ITU because they know we can build a trusted and inclusive environment where we can bring all these players together to basically build a beneficial course for AI for humankind.
So on that point, because I wanted to ask you about that as well, this is a really unique event because they call it multi-stakeholder in these conferences, but essentially you've got UN leadership, you've got government leaders, private sector as you mentioned, but also startups, people from all over the world who just have a great idea to share. So that sounds like the start of really meaningful collaboration, except right now the world is woefully lacking that.
Yeah.
So how do you hope to foster that, beginning with this summit?
I mean, AI for Good from the beginning had a very sort of grassroots, bottom-up approach, where our philosophy was that, even the AI experts themselves say AI is too important to leave to the experts themselves. So great efforts have been made to bring as many diverse voices to the table. So of course our member states, 53 UN sister agencies and partners and offices, who are partners of AI for Good, but strong industry participation from all around the world, academia, we have the 3 godfathers of AI speaking virtually in the next couple of days. They've always been in and out of the conference since the beginning, civil society, NGOs, but also media like yourself, artists, athletes, creatives, and even young people. So behind you can't really see, but there's going to be a Robotics for Good youth competition where we're bringing kids aged from 10 to 18 from 22 countries, many from the global south, to compete on building the best robots for natural disaster management. So I think being solution-oriented has always been the key. It's very much focused on what can we do here and now, what can be leveraged, how can we scale these solutions globally, and also, like you said, making sure that it doesn't deepen the digital divide, but by being inclusive from the start, we can bring them in at the beginning.
So I noticed that on your agenda, you're also spotlighting quantum computing this time around. Let's pretend, Fred, that you're ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I'm going to type in, what is quantum computing and how does it relate to AI?
Yeah.
Go.
Well, I would probably start by telling a joke, which I'm not sure ChatGPT would do, but the running joke among the quantum community is that quantum is always 10 years away, right? And I think if you look at AI for Good in 2017, there was probably a similar joke where AGI, or what they imagine generative AI to be, where they didn't even know that would be possible, it's always 5 or 10 years away, always 5 and 10 years away. But in 2017, just because the tech wasn't there and the hardware wasn't there and it wasn't mainstream like it is today, it didn't prevent us from thinking about, okay, what are the most urgent use cases for global change, right? Especially aligned with the SDGs. How do we build policy guidance around this? How do we build standards on this? I like to think because we did that back then, we planted the seeds for AI standards development, and now ITU has 400 standards developed or published in areas like cybersecurity, multimedia, energy management, network optimization, and also fighting misinformation. So that actually turned into tangible standards that would be needed. And I like to think that where we were then, we are there with quantum today. So that's why we launched Quantum for Good at the summit, because I think it does have great potential for solving things like climate change or very complex calculations and simulations that you can't do on even today's supercomputers, might be done in the future. And I don't see it as quantum alone. I see it as AI plus quantum, which would solve a lot of these puzzles in the future. But I'm really glad that it's taking off today, because who knows, that ChatGPT moment, we might have a quantum moment. Could be 5 years, 10 years, but at least we'd be a bit better prepared than if we did nothing.
Final point then, Fred, is on the digital divide in the global south, which we've talked about a little bit, but I want to ask you specifically. It's hard to have these conversations without confronting some harsh realities.
Yeah.
2.6 billion people around the world don't have internet connectivity, and there are still 700 million people who lack electricity. How worried are you about this growing divide, particularly in the global south, and what specifically is AI for Good doing to address it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. I mean, in order to have AI, I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, but you need data. Data is the fuel of AI. To have data, you need mass digitization, you need connectivity, and like you said, in about a third of the world, it's just not happening. They're not connected. And for me, that's the equivalent of a V8 engine that's only firing on 5 cylinders, because it's not connectivity for the sake of connectivity, but we're not benefiting from the creative problem-solving power of these people, of their storytelling, of their culture, of their language, of their history, and there's a lot of data sets there that need to be included, so you have solutions that are not narrow, but work specifically for different situations that are very local. So basically local solutions for local problems. So there's still a lot of work to do there to create that connectivity. I mean, that is central to ITU's mission, is connecting the world, and we're tracking that. I mean, that's, but not only tracking that, but through different initiatives like Partner to Connect and GIGA, where we want to connect all the world's schools. There's a lot of momentum, behind creating that connectivity. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's definitely moving in the right direction. But I agree, that is fundamental. On the optimistic side, if you look at, for example, in East Africa, several years ago, they're actually a leader in mobile payments. So just by using, a feature phone, which is not fancy at all, they were able to bypass like 30 years of, legacy infrastructure development, which happened in Europe and the US to have the solutions we have today. There, it's just by using, sort of basic technology and necessity, they got creative, and now they're leaders in mobile payments and transactions in the world. So following that similar logic, I think if we can get that basic connectivity and tech in the hands of people who need it the most, we can also count on their ingenuity and problem-solving, creativity to maybe leapfrog the
I was just going to say
the infrastructure that we all went through, let's say, in the developed countries.
Understood. Well, Fred Werner, best of luck this week.
Thank you.
As they say in the Catskills, we'll be here all week and following along. So thanks so much.
Well, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.